Today we are talking about biblical hospitality and how do we do that with kids. So God's word calls us to be building up and loving on one another and considering others more significant than ourselves. And one way we get to do that is by serving those who are in need. But right off the bat, I would encourage you, if you are looking for a way to be serving in your church, this is a great way to get started with that. This is something that can be very hard, and also that I can be very narrow-sighted when it comes to this topic. I have a bunch of littles, and we live about 30 minutes from our church because we live out in a rural area, and so our church is a little bit of a distance, and many of our members live near the church. And so the idea of loading people up, or even the idea of inviting people into my home, I sometimes get narrow-minded in the sense like, well, nobody's going to want to drive out here. Sometimes just unintentionally, I get so consumed with the life of my home and serving my children and doing the things that need to take place in the home that I often fail at thinking of those others in my church that have needs. And so my goal today is just to help kind of plant a seed of ideas and ways that you can help serve others in your church, do it on a budget, as well as bring your children along and allow them to see what being the hands and feet of Christ looks like. Who in your church might be in need? So let's talk about who some of these people might be. You have widows, you have single mothers, you have families where the husband is constantly working late outside the home. You have new mothers and fathers who've just had a newborn baby. You have people who've just lost a loved one. You have people going through severe sickness. Maybe not a widow, but an elderly woman or elderly man who is dealing with a sick spouse and is constantly tending to that need. What about younger families that are dealing with an elderly parent and are constantly serving that parent's needs? So just a few ideas. There's a good amount of people within our church who are just going through different hard times or incredible blessings, but it's just a busy season. So how then can we think through ways to serve these families? So now that you possibly have a family in mind, you can start brainstorming some ways to which you can help serve this family. Is it taking them a meal? Is it going grocery shopping for them? Is it a friend who is just possibly staying up all night with a teething baby and she's shared that with you and she's gotten little to no rest and you can just come and take the kids? Or you could stop by with a cup of coffee and a simple baked good and just say, hey, I'm coming, I'm bringing you a baked good. You can provide breakfast for the next day. Hey, I am coming by, I am just bringing breakfast for your whole family. And then that removes that job from that mother who now does not have to make breakfast for her entire family, and maybe she can get an extra 15-30 minutes in bed. Things to be thinking about are just ways to do it budget friendly. So I want to talk about that. When preparing a meal, if we are wise and thoughtful, we can prepare a meal that is hardly any add-on to our budget. So what are you already preparing within your weekly meal plan that you can double? What sort of baked goods are really quick and easy and inexpensive? So one thing that is helpful is if you bake cookies for the week, you can do a double batch and then keep some stashed in your freezer, and then now you always have something on hand for a family when you're trying to make a meal for a family. Another thing that is helpful is to maybe start adding to your budget. My husband and I are going through C.S. Lewis' Mere Christianity, and he is speaking to believers that if we are so comfortable, something is wrong. we should be giving so much of what God has blessed us with that it almost takes away something from our family. I think that is just something that we should constantly be praying for. Lord, open my eyes to those in need. I would say first and foremost, that is one of the easiest things we can be doing in serving our church, is by prayerfully praying for those in our church, and then constantly asking the Lord to open our eyes to someone in need, and then praying for that person. And then you start brainstorming on ways you and your spouse and your kids can come alongside and serve that family. Now I thought I would share just a quick thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create just a small hospitality basket, to where, as I'm thinking through different scenarios to which I will be attending to a mother, I want to create a basket to where I have things readily available, and I can either be adding small things to it monthly, or when I use up something, then I'm quick to refill it so it's ready for the next time I'm trying to serve someone in our church. Something to be thinking about is having just tins or plastic Tupperware already available that you can put your food in and then take it out to the family. Another thing that I think would be wise to stock up on is a few little good children's books. So to a new mother, you can add, just like, this book is $5 or $4.95, so $5, and then you add this sweet little gift on top, possibly keeping a small pack of diapers or a small pack of baby wipes, and blessing a mother with the things that they're going to use. For someone who's dealing with sickness, you can add, you can have some cards already on hand that you can then bless them with, whether it be a simple Walmart card that they could use at the pharmacy for medication, or for gas if they're constantly driving to the hospital to visit their families, or a gift card to eating out, to where these are restaurants they can go to when they're driving to the hospital to visit their family. I also think it is wise to have stationery and cards on hand for different occasions. So for graduations, for law, someone who's lost a family member, for someone who's just had a baby. Dollar Tree is a great place to start because you could get 2 for $1, or Amazon, where you can just buy a pack of greeting cards that has different occasions already within the box. And then just plain stationery. So never neglect a handwritten card. These are actually very rare in today's time, so really being thoughtful and intentional, putting pen to paper and writing something encouraging and loving and edifying to someone in your church can go a really long way. So keeping some stationery in your basket. Another find is these prayer cards from Dollar Tree. You can find, they have lovely prints. So these are just 2, they have other ones. And then on the back, so in the picture, it shows right here, there are on the back scriptures. So I sometimes just use these as the card itself and then add to it my own words. And then I tape this on top of the box, and then it has some encouragement, personalized note, the food, and then it's, it just adds to the gift. I also think, why not gift beautifully? I always refer to this, that you don't have to, making something beautiful does not have to cost you anything. You could go step outside, snip some greenery from your yard, and add some jute twine to your gift, to your food, to bread, wrap it up with the jute twine, add that piece of greenery, add a handwritten card, and it just instantly elevates a gift. Like I said, I kind of refer back to this. As we look all throughout creation, we see that our God is the designer of all things beautiful. He was very gracious in giving us absolute beauty everywhere we look. If we do choose to stop and look for it, it is all throughout. Because we are made in the image of God, I think it is really, it should be said of a believer that they are conscientiously thinking through beauty and trying to bring beauty to every occasion. So in our gift giving, in our time to serve, how can we add beauty to these items? And again, it doesn't have to take much. This is $1.25 from Dollar Tree. Again, you can get greenery from outside. You can then get tulle from Hobby Lobby, and then add it to your baked good with your card. And I feel like that instantly allows the individual to know that you care for them, you thought about them, you took the time to prepare this gift extra special for them. And then I also want to talk about how we can go and deliver these things. Once it's all prepared, all packaged, how then do we go and prepare this item for delivery? So I think it is always wise to be thoughtful of the other person's schedule. Think through how can you do this without inconveniencing them. You want to first ask them, how can I drop this off to you? What is the best time? But also be mindful to not ask, can I bring you a meal? I think it's best to phrase it in the sense, because people don't want to feel like an inconvenience either. So I think it's always wise to be, hey friend, I am bringing you breakfast tomorrow. What time is the best for me to drop it off? Would it be better for me to drop it off tonight, or can I bring it to you in the morning? I am cooking you a meal this week. When would be the best time for me to drop it off for you? And that already places the item in their hands, so you're not giving them the option of like, can I make this for you? But rather, I'm doing this gift for you. When can I deliver it? And then that, I guess that also allows them to present you with a time that, like I said, does not inconvenience them. Be mindful not to be chatty Cathy, which I am always prone to do. Take that meal, drop it off, say, hey, I want to drop this off on your porch. Don't worry, I know time has been very busy for you. As an example, a family whose husband constantly is working outside of the home, and you know the mother is dying for some time with her spouse. You can say, hey, I'm going to pick up your kids. When can y'all figure out a date night so I could take your kids? Or, hey, I'm gonna bring my kids over. Don't worry about the state of your house. Obviously, this might be somebody you're a little more close to, because this could also make someone feel uncomfortable. But I'm going to watch your kids so you and your spouse can go have a date night. And then also, send over a gift card to a restaurant. How huge would that be? And how special would that be? For a single mother, hey, I am going to bring you some groceries. When is the best time for me to drop that off to you? And now I'd like to talk about, how do we do this with our children? Our children should see us serving the church. Our children should be brought alongside and given opportunities to serve the church as well. How are some ways we can involve them? I think it is very great for us to involve the children. If we're cooking, they can join in cooking the cookies with us, and then packaging up those cookies, taking them off the cooling rack and then putting them in a bag or a cellophane bag, and then involving them in that way. Another idea is having them create a card. You can either print this out with some words already that have some sort of greeting on it for the individual who is going to be receiving it, and then they color. If your child is older, just a little written note that they can do, or color, like I said, color that card. Another thing is, if your child is older, in middle school, 10 to 18, they then can cook the meal. They can actually help go deliver that meal. They can help babysit alongside with you. They can offer up their own money if they have any sort of job, if they have any sort of allowance money, providing a small gift to the family you're serving. So if there is a mom who's just had a new addition to her family and she has other kiddos, how can your children help you go pick out a small gift for the mom that you're going to be bringing a meal to? This is just a few ideas. Overall, my thought process is that I would just start a little nugget in your mind to help you start brainstorming. Get your husband involved. Y'all sit down, y'all prayerfully be thoughtful of families in your church that are in need, and then y'all figure out a way to serve that family. I can't encourage Mere Christianity enough. Read through James. He encourages us to be serving the widows and orphans, and alongside that, also I will, in my words, insert those that are in need. As we read all throughout Paul, we see what the church was doing. All throughout Paul's letters, we see what the church was doing at that time for one another. As we read through Acts, it is overwhelming to see the oneness of this church and the unity of this church and the giving to one another. And again, this doesn't only have to be, you can't serve anybody outside the church, because we should be seeking ways to do that as well. But we must be trying to serve those within our church. And so I hope this was helpful. I hope this, again, shed some light on ways you and your children can start serving. I have another video on hospitality that I will link down below. I am just so happy you're here. I also would enjoy it if you followed me over on Instagram at Our Ministry The Home. I have taken a little break, but I will soon be getting back on Instagram and sharing more of the day-to-day, and also packaging and how we do life in our home, how God is edifying our hearts here. And I want to encourage you that your home is a ministry. You have been specifically picked for the children and the spouse that you have. Take God's word, hold it in your heart, and prayerfully ask Him to give you ways to serve your family and delight in doing so. It's not always easy, but in that rough and tough things that we have to do, we get to offer that up as worship. As Christ laid down His life for us, how can we go out and move ourselves aside and serve others?